So Bernie Sanders had a campaign event in Phoenix yesterday, and then after he had this press conference before he left to do some campaigning in Michigan, and at this press conference he really laid into Joe Biden and his horrible support of NAFTA, NAFTA being the North American free trade agreement that involved obviously the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The free trade would happen between those countries, and as Bernie correctly points out, millions upon millions of good paying, should also be said, good paying manufacturing jobs have been lost due to outsourcing, as well as I was reading this piece from the Economic Policy Institute that 1 out of 4 people working in the manufacturing sector saw a 20% decrease in wages after NAFTA was passed by the U.S. House and Congress and then signed by Bill Clinton. So not only are millions upon millions of jobs have been outsourced due to NAFTA and PNTR, permanent normal trade relations with China, which Joe Biden also supported. Bernie Sanders was against NAFTA from the start. He was a vocal critic of it due to the outsourcing, how we'd be losing these really high paying family wage type jobs, single earner type jobs that would be outsourced. And guess what? This has happened. The U.S. Labor Department has certified at least 950,000 jobs have been lost due to NAFTA, and obviously that, I would say the number is probably much bigger than that. And then you factor in PNTR, and Bernie was pointing out how in Michigan alone 150,000 good paying manufacturing jobs were lost due to NAFTA. And again, let's not forget that these 3 really important Rust Belt states, Trump won in 2016 by really hammering on NAFTA, hammering on these really bad trade agreements, and really kind of channeling into some populist anger that people rightly have for these horrible trade agreements that led to their jobs being outsourced to these different countries, and then their lives significantly deteriorating as a result. As I said, 1 out of 4 manufacturing workers saw at least a 20% decrease in their income as a result of NAFTA. And so you have on one side of the coin, Joe Biden, who's never met a horrible free trade agreement that screws workers that he doesn't like, as opposed to Bernie Sanders, who's always, again, on this issue, like many others, has been on the right side of history, always fighting for what's best for the working people, for the working class, fighting to keep these really good, high-paying manufacturing jobs in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, not outsourcing them to Mexico, where the people working in the factories there get paid cents on the dollars. They don't have the environmental or worker regulations that we have here, so they're able to pay them just these paltry wages. And again, those people, they aren't really benefiting. It's the heads of these corporations, heads of Ford, GM, all these other companies that have outsourced to Mexico that are benefiting. It's not the workers there. They're also getting screwed and taken advantage of. And obviously it's not the workers here in the United States. Bernie Sanders has always been correct on this issue. And if Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee, he's not going to win over those same Rust Belt states. He's not going to win in Michigan. The polls are showing right now Bernie Sanders beats Trump in Michigan. Joe Biden loses. And I think that would also hold up in the general election, because they saw, well, Joe Biden, why would I support you? I live in Michigan, and 150,000 these good paying manufacturing jobs just went away right after NAFTA. You're also supporting these other horrible trade agreements. My life got substantially worse because of this horrible policy that you supported. Why would I vote for you? Bernie Sanders was on the right side of history. Trump, at least, pretends to care about the working people with this populist left message. And So Donald Trump was recently at a campaign event, a campaign rally in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and this is a quote from him. He has been hitting Sleepy Joe Biden on his horrible record with regards to trade policy and voting on this. So this is from Trump. Quote, he approved it. He was pushing it. It's the worst trade deal ever made. And again, if Biden's the nominee, Trump is going to keep hitting him on this message. You know, Sleepy Joe, he voted for NAFTA. He supported PNTR. I believe he probably supported TPP as well. And you know, you lost all of these really good jobs, and Joe Biden was, you know, a huge proponent of that. Why, you know, support me? I got this NAFTA 2.0 done. It's better than Joe Biden's original NAFTA, which was really horrible. You lost all your jobs, your wages went down, you had to take these crappier service, you know, industry jobs. When your jobs left, these jobs haven't came back. I'm going to keep bringing them back. I'm going to bring you back better trade agreements. Joe Biden's horrible, etc., etc. Trump would just hammer away at him on trade, as well as, you know, things like the Iraq War, the bankruptcy bill, wanting to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all these other benefits. And again, like I said, Trump carried those three very important Rust Belt states in 2016. And if Joe Biden's the nominee, write it down, he would win Wisconsin, he would win Michigan, he would win Pennsylvania. Bernie Sanders has a much better chance in those very pivotal Rust Belt swing states to defeat Donald Trump, because again, Bernie Sanders hasn't supported those horrible trade policies in the past that have led to the loss of millions of good paying manufacturing jobs. Joe Biden has already been on the wrong side of history for so long. So it was 61% of the job loss due to NAFTA was in high-paying manufacturing jobs. When those jobs went away, they weren't replaced with something better. They were replaced with these shitty service economy jobs where, you know, these people who had these really good paying manufacturing jobs had to take a substantial cut in wages and in income, and often you would have to work more than one job. And you know, if maybe they were able to get by with a one income earner household on these good paying manufacturing jobs that were outsourced due to NAFTA, they might have to have, you know, both parents or both caregivers have to go into the workforce. Maybe even both of them were having to work two jobs, because once these good jobs left, they were replaced with shitty service economy jobs that don't provide a livable wage, that don't provide good benefits. And again, just another reason to support Bernie. We need these important swing states. We need a candidate who's always been on the right side of these trade issues. That's Bernie Sanders. That is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden's not going to be able to stand up on the campaign trail or the debate stage and have any type of substantive comeback to Trump. Trump, again, he's just going to say he approved it, he was pushing it, it's the worst trade deal ever made, and I improved upon it. I got NAFTA 2.0 done. Elizabeth Warren even supported it. I don't know this for sure, but I'm almost assuming that Joe Biden would support that as well. I think Bernie Sanders was the only candidate who said he didn't, in fact, support NAFTA 2.0. So, and then just look at this. In 1993, we had a $2.7 billion trade surplus between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So we were a net exporter. And then flash forward to 2017, we have a trade deficit of $191.2 billion due to things like NAFTA. So, and then Bernie Sanders had put out 3 new TV ads. One of them had to do with trade. I think it's really smart. Bernie Sanders should really be just totally carpet bombing the airwaves in these swing states with Joe Biden's horrible record with NAFTA, with PNTR, about how all the job losses are attributed to that, how Joe Biden supported that, how Bernie Sanders was out there what was it? Yeah, Bernie Sanders was on a picket line in Vermont when the debates were going on around NAFTA. He saw it He saw it at the time. He's always been on the side of the working people, what is best for them, what's going to keep their jobs there. Joe Biden has always been on the wrong side of history with regards to this issue. He would absolutely get pummeled on the campaign, in a general election campaign and on the debate stage against Donald Trump. And Trump doesn't have that same ammunition against Bernie, and Bernie Sanders has always been on the right side of this very, very important issue, and it's super important that we get a candidate who's able to do well in the Rust Belt, and that's Bernie Sanders. That is not Joe Biden. Again, in Michigan, the polls show that Bernie Sanders beats Donald Trump. Same polls show that Joe Biden loses. We prop up the Democratic establishment, the liberal elites are propping up Joe Biden, knowing full well that he will lose to Donald Trump, but they prefer that to 4 years of a very positive candidate who's going to do great things for the working people. So there's no choice. We want to beat Trump. Bernie's our only shot. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Peace. Much love. Much love. Bernie 2020. Not me. Us. Us.